Hi, welcome back to Game Design. This is Beers Born, and in today's video, we're going to pick up where we left off last time. We've started making a new game project. And if I log into Construct 3, this is what the homepage looks like. You'll notice over here on the left side, we have a list of recent projects, and you should see your game file there. Typically, it'll show you your most recently opened projects over here on the left. But we can also open up our file by clicking on the Open button over here on the right. So if there's ever a point where you don't see your game file over here, let's just click on the Open button. We're going to open up a file, and I want to go to my Documents folder where I saved my game project last time. And you should see a file name that you saved last time, .c3p. C3p files are Construct game files. So find your game1.c3p file from last time. And let's click Open. And this opens our game project from the last video. Now remember, we have a layout, and in our layout, we have an object. That object, we called it Sprite1, and it's just a kind of a simple face. We also have a keyboard object that we added into the layout as well. And I can see over here on my right panel, the projects panel, under objects, I have a keyboard and a Sprite1. Over in the event sheet, I have one single event. On the left side is the condition. The condition is when the keyboard spacebar is down, and then the action is that I make my Sprite1 rotate 10 degrees counterclockwise. Let's hit the play button and try it out. Hold down space, my sprite spins. Let's try adding some more stuff to this. Let's start by add in some mouse controls. Instead of just having the keyboard control, let's try putting in some mouse inputs too. If I want to add a mouse to the game, I'm going to go over to my layout and I'm going to right click in the empty white space. I'm going to click on Insert New Object, and I'm going to scroll down to the Input section. Now remember, we already had a keyboard, but we can also add a gamepad, a mouse, touchscreen. Let's add a mouse to this. Click Insert, and now you'll see over here on the right panel, we have a keyboard, we have a mouse, and we have a Sprite1. What that does is now if I go over to my event sheet and I try adding a new event, I have a mouse condition available to me now. Whenever you add a new object, it'll pop up over in the event sheet. So let's go to mouse, and let's say the condition for this event. Now you can look through these options. There's a bunch of stuff. It's like when your cursor's over an object, or if you're holding the mouse button down, or when you release a mouse button. But let's just do on click. It's going to say, okay, which mouse button do you want to use? Let's use the left button, and we can either do click or double clicked. Let's just do single clicked. So the condition here is when we take our mouse and we click the left button. Let's add an action, and we'll make the action happen to our Sprite1. Let's double click on that, and we can look through and decide what's going to happen when you click the mouse button. Let's make it change position. Let's make it move around the screen a little bit. If I scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see a size and position section. And under size and position, we see a set position. We can change its location on the screen. So if I double click on set position, it asks me for an X and a Y coordinate. X is its number across left to right on the screen. The way the construct works is the far left of your game has an X value of 0, and as you move towards the right, that number gets bigger. The Y coordinate is top to bottom. So up at the top of your game, the Y number is 0, and that number gets larger as you move down. So if we wanted to, we could just make up a pair of numbers. Let's say when we click our mouse button, we'll set the X value to maybe 500. And let's say we'll set the Y value to, 800. I'm just kind of making up two coordinates. Now, if I hit the play button, when you click your mouse, it should move your Sprite1 to 500 by 800, which is right there. So you can click your mouse and move it to a specific location, which is cool, but you can only do that once, right? Because every time I click my mouse afterwards, it's already at 500 by 800, so it's kind of stuck right there. But it works. Let's try doing something a little bit more interesting with that. I'm going to change my action. Let's double click on the set position, and instead, let's figure out a way that we can make it always move to wherever my mouse location is. In Construct, you can use the name of any object that you see over here on the right side. So let's say I want to set the X coordinate to whatever my mouse X coordinates are. To do that, you just type in the name of the object, and the name of the object is mouse in this case. You can see it right here. Now, after you type in the name of your object, you have to type in a period, and then whatever value you want to use. Like in this case, we're using the X value, right? It's X location on the screen. So I just type in the letter X. So this is the X location of my mouse object. Let's do the same thing for Y. I'm going to type in the name of my object, mouse, a period, and then whatever value I'm using, in this case, Y, the Y location of my mouse. Let's click done. Now, when I hit play, every time I click my mouse, it'll move it to the X and Y location that my mouse is in at that moment. So I can move it around the screen. Good. Now let's make one more adjustment to this. Let's make it so it's not just when you click the button, but you can actually hold down the mouse button and move it around the screen. You can change your conditions at any time. So if I double click on the condition over here on the left side and hit back, instead of using on click, let's try using mouse button is down. This way, instead of just checking when the mouse button has been clicked, it's going to constantly move the position the entire time that you're holding the mouse button down. So mouse button left, we can keep that the same. Click done. Let's click play. Now, if I hold down my mouse button, it constantly updates the X and Y location of my sprite 1 to the X and Y location of my mouse. We can also hold down the space bar as we do it and rotate it as we move it around the screen. Okay, cool. Let's try doing one more thing for this video. Let's add a new event. And for the condition, we're going to go back to the keyboard. Let's use a different key on the keyboard, and we'll make our sprite get bigger and smaller. Now, once we've double-clicked on keyboard, these are all the different conditions for the keyboard. Key is down means that if you're holding down a key on the keyboard, it'll constantly do whatever the action is. So let's try key is down. And just like in the last video, it's going to ask you to choose which key do you want to use for this. Click to choose, and let's use the up arrow key. So I press the up arrow key on my keyboard. Click OK, click done. Now on my keyboard, when the up arrow is being held down, let's add an action for our sprite. And let's go down to the bottom and let's change its size. If I double click on set size, it's going to ask me what width and what height do I want. Now I could just put in two numbers here. I could say like, okay, let's make it 1,000 pixels wide and 1,000 pixels high, and click done. If you click play, now when you press the arrow key, your sprite gets big. But it's stuck at that size, right? You can't keep making it bigger because every time you press the up arrow, it just sets it to a static number, 1,000 by 1,000. Instead, let's try doing kind of like what we did with the mouse. But instead of setting the width and the height to the mouse, let's set the width and the height to the current width and height of the sprite 1 plus maybe like another 10 pixels. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the name of sprite 1. I'm going to say I want to set the width to sprite 1 dot width, which will mean the current width of your sprite 1 plus 10. So every time you press the up arrow key, it'll take the current width of your sprite 1 and add 10 pixels to it. We can do the same thing for height. I'm going to type in the name of my object, sprite 1 dot height plus 10. So I'm using the name of my object, whatever kind of attribute I want to change, in this case, the width and the height, and I'm adding a certain amount to it. Click done. Let's try it out. If you hold down the arrow key, it just keeps getting bigger. And you can hold it down and make your sprite giant. That's fun. Let's make it get smaller too. We can make it larger with the up arrow key. Let's use another event to use the down arrow key to make the sprite get smaller again. So let's add one last event here. The condition is going to be for the keyboard. The condition is going to be when a key is down, and I'm going to click to choose the down arrow key. The action is going to be for our sprite 1, set the size to sprite 1's width minus 10 pixels. Its height is going to be set to sprite 1's height minus 10 pixels. And click done. Try it out. You should be able to press the up arrow key to make it larger and the down arrow key to make it smaller. And now we can make it shrink and grow as we move it around. We can also make it rotate as it's growing. And not much of a game. There's not a lot of game mechanics there, but it's definitely a start. We're going to leave it there today. Let's save our project. So click on the Save button. You'll see the black square with the white symbols in it up next to Menu. Click on Save Project. Click Save Changes. And once it turns gray, you know that it's saved. Great. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.